Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to our weekly chat that we all have together. Welcome to Coffee with EverBee. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. Last week, if you were with us, we did what I considered part one, an Etsy SEO introduction. I planned on doing it all in one, but you guys just had so many incredible questions that I didn't want to kind of like pack anything too deep. So today we are diving into part two, which I'm really excited about. Looks like we have Julie here. We have Daniel here. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. Good morning. Also, Wood Unlimited is here. I do already have actually a question in the comments, so I'll go ahead and make sure that I spotlight that for whenever we're ready to dive in. So I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to join in because today is really, really exciting, and we're actually just diving so much deeper into what we originally had from last week. Again, talking about Etsy SEO. Everything that we're going to go over today, by the way, is like directly from Etsy's mouth. So it's not something that, you know, we've tried and tested and it's 100% true because a YouTuber told you. It is like from the seller handbook. So I want to just make it as easy as pie for you guys to know exactly what is expected from you as a seller, and then also what you guys can expect as buyers in the future as well. Hi guys, looks like we got a lot of people here. We got some people from the UK. We got some people from Washington State. Hello, hello. Thank you guys all so much for being here. So since we do have around 100 people already here this morning, I want to be very mindful of you guys' time. And if you're cool with it, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. As always, if you have any questions of anything that I'm going through, Natalie is here with me right now as well, and she's going to be taking note of everything that you guys bring up. Go ahead and pop any questions that you have in the comments for us, and we will set aside either time at the very end to get to all of those for around 15 to 20 minutes, or if things make sense to actually like say while we're going through the training, I will do that as well. It looks like someone said they're in Washington State as well and coming out there next month for vacation. Do you mean Michigan? Because I would not recommend coming here for vacation. Stay where you are. I got two people actually from Canada, someone from Milan coming in. So awesome. All right, guys, if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and just jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen today. And if you did not watch, by the way, if you did not watch part two, I highly recommend that you, first of all, you can stay with us, keep watching this. They are not going to be conflicting, or you don't need one to do the other. But I do highly recommend after we get done with this live, go watch part one of this. If you actually are watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, in the description of either of those live streams, I actually linked part one for you guys. So go ahead, check that out when we're done here today, because it's going to make everything else I say make a lot more sense, okay? So picking up exactly where we left off from last week, we were talking about how to actually optimize individual listings. So the first thing I wanted to start off with today is talking about the first listing photo. So obviously on Etsy, we have the ability to place 10 listing photos on every listing. You also have the ability to do a video as well. And I'm not sure if you guys know this. I might have mentioned this last week, but I think it's like 28% or 29% of Etsy like sellers, or I think it's 29% of Etsy listings have a video. So that is just one way immediately that you can set yourself apart from your competitors. If they're not doing video, that's a really awesome opportunity for you guys to kind of set yourself out from the crowd. If you've ever been doing research, or if you're a buyer yourself and you're scrolling through the different listings of a search that you do, obviously the first listing photo is what you're going to see. But as you hover over the individual listings, you're also going to see the video pop up for that person. So that's why I like to say the first listing photo is of utmost importance. But if you also have the ability to do a video, I highly recommend. Also keeping in mind, if you like, I've gotten this objection so many times that like, I'm a print on demand seller. Like, how do I make a video? I don't have that actual thing. Or I'm a digital download seller and I sell a PDF. How or why would I do a video for the listing? So for both of those options, like if you're not making like process oriented things handmade, for both of those other options for digital download sellers as well as print on demand sellers, you can simply go into, let's say like Canva or CapCut. There's a bunch of different softwares that you can use in order to actually like build out those videos for yourself. So for example, like what I do on my digital products is I literally, the same way that we're doing this today, by the way, I just do a screen recording of what they're going to get in the product. And I just go really fast so no one can like take my stuff and try to replicate it. And then that like signifies a perfect video. There's other ways that you can do it in print on demand as well, where let's say you get a sample. If you get a sample from one of your items, and by the way, it doesn't have to be the exact item and the exact design. Like if you have 100 to 1,000 different items in your store, I don't want you to buy all of those samples. But let's say you have actually this right here is a Bella Canvas 3001C t-shirt. So let's say you have a bunch of different designs on a bunch of different Bella Canvas 3001s. Then you can just still use that 3001 to show exactly what it might look on your husband, on your wife, on your daughter, etc. And then you can also just create the video, obviously from scratch, of the material itself. Another way you can do this is if you guys have ever used Placeit, for example, like for mockups, or even Canva for mockups, those kinds of things are like super easy to actually find videos. If you're paying for the premium subscription, I think it's like $12 a month. If you're paying for either Canva or Placeit, they actually have videos that can take your design and they move and they dance and they jump around, whatever. That could be another option. I'm also seeing some people are saying an ice cream slideshow makes really easy videos. Just drop the images in and click to go. That's fantastic. I love that idea. Look up ice cream slideshow. Another one someone says is I just take 4 images from my, so smart. 4 images from the 10 images in the listing, change them into a video in Canva. It's super simple. I completely agree. Like if you already have all of the stuff built out and your listing photos are highly optimized, just go ahead and pop those into Canva as individual pages, download it as an MP4 comparatively to a PNG or a PDF or an SVG. There you go. You have a video right there. So thank you, Sophie, so much for bringing that up. So with that said, I wanted to also hit on obviously the first listing photo as well. Whether or not you decide to do a video, the first listing photo is of utmost importance. So what I want you guys to do is a little exercise today is I really want you to like look up, like let's say you have a listing that's already live and it's not performing as well as you would have hoped, or you're thinking about getting into a space. What I would highly recommend today, if you listen to nothing else I say, go do this homework. It has completely changed the way that I look at everything, because to be honest, like we are our best cheerleaders, but also our best critics, right? Like we have so much pride, especially if it took a long time to make something. It's really hard to sway us that that's not perfect, that that's not what it should be, that's not going to attract the most amount of people possible, whatever. So I highly recommend you guys, let's set our pride aside for a second. Let's open up the opportunity to see like what other bestsellers are doing. What we usually do with EverBee is look at, the listing description. We're going to look at the tags they're using, the titles they're using, the SEO, etc. But Etsy has actively told us that the listing photos are like the highest form of what you need, and a highest form of element for conversion and also to increase your clicks. So not only is someone seeing you, but they're actively taking that step. So what I highly recommend is, again, either you already have a listing that's not performing well, or you're thinking about getting into a new space, type in whatever keywords that you found work for that space. Find those bestsellers like I've taught you guys in prior live streams. Find those bestsellers, look at all of their first listing photos, and just be honest with yourself. Would you click on yours? Like as a buyer, would you click on yours or would you click on theirs? Like, and if the answer is yours, fan-freaking-tastic. We might need to switch up some other things, which we're going to talk about those pieces as well. This is just the first thing to ask yourself before we dive into the other elements, okay? So if the answer is theirs, what I want you to do is then begin to think about like what exactly attracted you to them. So like if I have a couple examples here, obviously. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see them individually. And I'm sorry, guys, I have a little bit of a cold today, so if my my voice is a little off. So popular now, this Mother's Day brunch one on the left. As you can see, it is a video, first of all, but it also is just an animated video of the image that they originally had within their listing. So just like I said that Sophie said earlier, if you have the ability to literally just animate the photo that you've already made, that's totally fine as well. So this is a bestseller. I think it was in like 20 carts at the moment that I was like doing this search last week. So it's really attractive to me. It's telling me exactly what I'm going to get. It's simplistic while also telling me that like these are the colors that it's going to be. It also is an animated template. I just really was physically attracted to this one myself. Then I started going through and looking at other ones that caught my eye as well. And I'm seeing this guy right here. This one caught my eye for a couple of different reasons. So the first thing is I'm going to see, I know exactly what it is by, like they're telling me exactly what it is. So it is a digital download. It is a Canva template. It is an invitation set. And they're showing me what it looks like physically and what it looks like digitally. And they're also giving me the bonus of 12 free gift tags completely related to the Mother's Day brunch that I'm hosting. So that is literally within the first photo. I haven't looked at anything else. I haven't looked at the title. I haven't looked at the listing description. I haven't looked at their FAQs. I know pretty much exactly what I'm going to get from this person from that one listing photo, okay? Then I'm going to scroll over here just a little bit. Let me see if I can zoom in. It's like really blurry. I'm sorry. They're, you know, guys, they're like 2000 by 2000. So they're kind of small. But this one was one that had made 0 sales. And I do like what they're doing. I do see that they were trying to kind of mimic the same concept of physical versus digital. It's a Canva downloadable template, etc. But I was like not very attracted to this strictly because it's, first of all, I think the colors just aren't calling me out. I do like that it's minimalist, to be honest, but at the same time, when you compare to the competitors being very bright, very vibrant, very in your face in a way, this one kind of falls mute, to be honest. And I also didn't love how like I could barely read, especially because you guys know when you're scrolling through your phone, these babies are like this big. So I need to be told so big. I need it bold. I need it italicized. I need you to tell me exactly what I'm going to get, and very fast, by the way. And it took me like to zoom in on this to be able to see exactly what I was getting because of the font and color choice that they made, okay? So I highly, highly recommend you guys going through, again, what is currently doing well in your space, and then comparing it to what you currently have. And then if possible, again, not a requirement per se, Etsy isn't saying you absolutely have to do this, but if we are going to treat this as a business, I highly recommend also trying to make those videos as well. And the good news, guys, is the video is like 15 seconds or less. So you could literally do a 5-second image pop-up, just like Sophie said. You could use the ice cream slideshow like the other guy said. I mean, just there's so many different ways to make this work for you, okay? So I have a question from the group, but I kind of want to put that one on pause because it has to do with ads. So we'll talk about that in a second. The next thing I want to move on to, basically, if you either are thinking about starting from scratch or you're thinking about taking something that's not necessarily performing as well as you'd like, what I really want to do is talk about the listing photo first. That's something you should probably adjust first and then see if it gets better. The second option is obviously going to be the title. So Jennifer asked this question last week, and I wanted to make sure I got to it. It's so funny because when she asked the question, like I was literally 2 slides away from answering it, but we had to close last week's call. So the title should not just be a keyword stuffing experience, but it should tell the buyer what the listing is going to be about and what makes that listing or that item unique. The first words, just like the first listing photo and just like the beginning of a listing description, are the most important, since that's what a searcher sees to decide if they want to click on it. So I'm going to give you guys a quick example of exactly what I mean by that. Let me share my screen on another page real fast. I'm just going to type in Mother's Day because it's easy right now, because it's obviously, you know, a month away. All right, so we pulled up Mother's Day. So you're going to see personalized mama sweatshirt, custom embroidered mama, I'm assuming that says sweatshirt, Nana embroidered sweatshirt, birth month flower necklace, hummingbird stained glass, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to show you guys that today to show you exactly what I mean when we're talking about what the searcher sees to decide if they want to click through or not. So not only is the photo / the video of utmost importance, but the second thing, naturally, our eyes are going to go to, like, we're going to see the photo and video first. And then naturally, without, like, subconsciously, we have no control over this, just our eyes are going to go to the title. If the title further proves what the listing photo or the video was telling me, that is going to increase your ability to move forward. So what I don't love people to do is just to start keyword stuffing. Like anything that you find that's doing really well on EverBee, for example, and you're, you know, looking at everybody's titles and tags, like don't just start popping those in. We need to tell the buyer exactly what it's going to be, exactly what they can, you know, expect to receive. And most importantly, we want to obviously use those descriptive keywords as much as possible, but you want the title to talk to a shopper, not a computer. So people usually flip that and they're like, oh, this is an SEO opportunity, which of course it is, but they're really talking to a search engine. They're talking to a robot. They're talking to a computer when they're building out these titles, instead of talking to the person who's going to buy it. So here's 2 examples that I liked in that particular location we were just at. Mother's Day brunch invite. Those first 4, maybe 3, by the way, because there are very minimal characters that are shown, but the first 4 words are going to be what I see. The second one says editable Mother's Day invitation. A bunch of that is going to get cut off, but I also really love how they said editable as the first word. So that makes me a little bit more enticed to open it up. It's not something that someone else created for me and I'm going to print off and give it to my friends. It is something that I get to be in the driver's seat for, customize it, personalize it, etc. So I personally would probably click on the editable one, even if I lost part of the word invitation. The next thing is boho floral digital event itinerary. That is telling me exactly what it is. And I know, like, maybe floral, maybe boho, whatever is not my vibe. Maybe it's not something that I want to do. That is disqualifying me or pre-qualifying me as a potential buyer. The other one obviously says floral Mother's Day brunch invite, floral Mother's Day brunch invitation, etc. So this is actively talking to me, the shopper, while also utilizing those high converting keywords to be able to be found under these searches, okay? So I hope all of that makes sense. There's some things in here I want to make sure. Oh, you're totally fine, Sophie. She says she's got to go. That's fine. We'll miss you. There's also some things I keep reading. So she said, I keep reading editable as edible. It's funny you say that because I was actually just doing a video the other day and I said edible at least 4 times. And I literally had to redo the whole video like for EverBee. So we're all in the exact same boat there. That's totally fine. A couple of questions real fast. Let me double check. Someone said, can we get the docs for reference? Let me chat with EverBee about that to see if, we can provide these to you. But also, like I said, you can find all of this in the Etsy Seller Handbook. I just condensed it for us for these chats. So by all means, you can obviously find everything there as well. But I will see if it's something that I can provide to you guys. If we can, I will pop it in the Facebook group. So if you're not in the Facebook group, highly go recommend to apply to that, because if we are able to, that's where I'm going to pop this. The next one said, someone said in an advice video recently that Etsy is now recommending shorter titles. Can you speak to this? That's a good question. I don't want to say with 100% certainty. I've seen some stirrings around, but when I'm reading Etsy's Etsy Seller Handbook, like I said, I'm always going to go back to that as the answer. They say like 140 characters are available and utilize them to the best of your ability. Again, talking to humans, not robots. So I'll leave that there, because that's just their advice. But again, if you ever want to dive any further into that, just go to the Etsy Seller Handbook and go to the location for titles, and hopefully those will be able to break down there a little bit. All right, let's see here. The next one is that I wanted to dive into was price can entice. This is one of my favorite things to say. I say this on a pretty much daily basis for my own business, even stuff that has nothing to do with Etsy. Price can entice or deter. So I want to be very, very cognizant and mindful of exactly what you should be charging, knowing who your ideal buyer is. Yes, being and staying competitive against your competitors' pricing is helpful, but at the same time, if you are, let's just use me for example. Let's say I have an online course that teaches you how to become a social media manager and make 100K or more a year. What if I was selling, and by the way, there's 50 videos of me telling you how to do it. It's over 3 hours of coursework, blah, blah, blah. If I were to put that as $5 as a digital product, $10 as a digital product, be honest with me, guys. Would that be something that you would trust fully? That I am the absolute expert in that space. I am going to give you the best advice. I am going to push you in the right direction. Because to be honest, I'm devaluing the value that I'm going to give you by saying it's only going to be $5. But I put countless hours of time into it, right? So that's what I wanted to say here is, if you are doing something that is handmade, or if you're doing something, and by the way, handmade also equals digital products most of the time, because you're quite literally hand making them. Like, don't deter a potential premium buyer simply because someone else is charging less. However, what I do want to say here is, again, make sure that you're smart with your pricing. Sometimes less isn't more in that particular case, but being mindful of what your competitors are doing with their pricing strategy and making sure that it makes sense with your end ideal buyer. If it doesn't, you don't have to copy their pricing strategy. Like, we are building individual businesses. We just happen to be on a platform where millions of other individual businesses are located. So it's just a little bit easier to see exactly what someone's doing, while also getting a little distracted by what someone else is doing. And then like second guessing ourselves and being like, oh, but maybe I should be less, or maybe I should be more, or maybe I should accept a lower profit margin because Leslie is, or because Susan is, whatever. So a way that we can still keep our value and be able to do value-based pricing, time investment-based pricing, especially if you're handmade, is to look at adding special offers to increase urgency because they have those close end dates. And another one is adding small quantities to increase scarcity. So urgency and scarcity are two of the absolute top like sales tactics, if you will, in all of e-commerce. And it doesn't matter what you're selling. You could be selling your time, you could be selling a product, you could be selling consulting. It doesn't matter. Scarcity and urgency is always going to be something that will psychologically trigger one of your buyers. So what I like to do, for example, is obviously this person is doing a really good job at adding the special, and then the special has an end date as April 13th, as you can see here. We're 5 days past that, so they probably have a new special with a new end date. But that was an example of how to utilize the urgency piece. Another thing that I personally like to do, which again, I've said this 1,000 times, this is all just opinion based. This is all just things that I'm testing. I am not telling you guys exactly what to do. This is not Bible, but a quick example of what I like to do, especially on those higher premium either services or products. And especially if you're a handmade seller who has to actively go out and create something made to order, I really love to put low quantity available. If you are a print on demand seller, might be moot, might not be something you need to worry about, especially because someone else is doing that in the background for you. But if you are a premium digital product seller, or if you are a handmade made to order seller, it will absolutely entice someone if they're already on the fence because you got them with your title, you got them with your listing photos. We're about to get into, you got them with your listing description. If the only thing holding them back is price, you can potentially overcome that by having a fast sale. So like a flash sale that can be done in 48 hours or something of the sort. And also saying, we only have 3 of these left. We only have 5 of these left. There's 10 in total. What Etsy will do when you say something like that in the quantity section is it will say low stock, order today, or something of that nature. So Etsy, because we took the chance on putting lower stock, Etsy is doing the work for us and enticing that person to go ahead, lock that in before their space is taken away from them, completely knowing on this call altogether, obviously today, that you can just update the quantity once you start getting low. Like if you're at 1 or if you're at 0, you're sold out. We know you're not actually sold out. You can go ahead and pop more in there. That's just something that I personally like to do, especially like I said, on the handmade, made to order things that are going to take up a huge investment of your personal time, while also looking at the more premium digital product space, okay? So we've got a couple of questions before I move on from price can entice. I want to make sure I hit these real quick. Why is it sometimes when we publish a listing and it goes straight to views, is it because our listing is what people are searching for and we managed to create good SEO, etc.? That's a good question. Actually, I might actually answer this at the end of this video with something we're already going to be talking about. But it really just depends on if you have something that is high search and something that is also considered low competition, but like we talked about last week. And by the way, if you haven't watched the video from last week, again, go watch that because it will make a lot more sense out of what I'm about to say. But Etsy basically categorizes like every single time someone does a search, it's going straight to like recent relevancy, recency, etc. So if you are relevant and you're matching that person's like actual search, you're utilizing the right keywords, the item that you created is also, again, high in demand, but not a lot of people are doing it. That more than likely is why you're getting pushed out to views pretty immediately. I've actually experienced that recently. I found a product that I could really help with simply because I am an expert in that particular platform and I use it in my own business every day. So I was like, why don't I tell everybody else about it? And it's basically just like a link in bio platform that allows you to monetize your social media. So I found that there was only like 2 or 3 people that were selling that on Etsy, and it was not great, to be honest. Like I downloaded a couple of them just to see what my competitors were doing, and it was not very informative. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to like elevate this. I'm going to charge a more premium price. I'm going to put some video tutorials in there because that's something that as a buyer, I believed my competitors were missing. And it's literally hit page 1 within a couple days. And it was because it was high search. Not a lot of people were doing it. And someone would have to actively look up monetize social media, Instagram money, or this particular platform. And then I'm going to pop up for that every single time. So that's kind of a long version of your answer. And I highly recommend, like I said, if you haven't seen part 1 of this introduction to Etsy SEO yet, we actually go really, really in depth in exactly what Etsy does every time someone makes a search, which is the exact reasons why you are popping up in views pretty immediately. Cool? All right, so want to make sure everyone's still with me. I don't know if you guys know, but I have like severe ADHD, so I have to, I got to put the comments away or I will completely not do what I'm supposed to do here today. So I'm just seeing a couple things. Someone said, trust is so fragile nowadays. It only takes one negative experience to ruin things. I am going to completely disagree with that, respectfully. I have had a few. It's been about 5 years, 6 years, I believe, that I've been doing this. And I've only had a handful of negative experiences. Actually, by the way, one just happened last week. And I was able to turn that around within seconds and get a 5-star review from that person. So I don't want to say ever that it takes one experience to completely ruin things. It's all about what you do to rectify that situation. So a quick example that happened to me literally last week, someone came to me and they wanted to buy this digital product and they thought that it had certain features within it. And it blatantly says in the title and the description and the photos, it blatantly says that that element is not included in the thing that she bought. However, she proceeded to buy it. And I also, by the way, have all of my policies. You can't cancel. There's no refunds. There's no exchanges because it's a digital product, etc. So she came to me immediately and was like, I want a refund. And I was like, well, you're not going to get that because, here are the reasons why. And I was very, very kind. I was very considerate. And when I told her, she responded back very unkind and very inconsiderate. And then I responded back to her being like, hey, I want to make this right by you. However, we do have certain rules in place and it's not fair to everybody else that has purchased from me in the past if I, just grant this to you today because you're not being very nice to me. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to give you this free product, which is only going to help that first product that you bought. It's yours. I hope you have a fantastic day. And she gave me 5 stars simply for the customer service experience. So I really want to say, again, respectfully disagree that trust can be built and trust can be rebuilt. You just have to be the one to do it. Okay. Let's see. We have a couple of different questions here. Do I keep doing specials on the same product? How can we be taken seriously if we always have a sale on it? Fair question. So fair. So I do have a sale, a flash sale pretty much every 48 to 72 hours on my products. And it's not that you would not be taken seriously. Like that's just standard e-commerce practice. And it's only going to help someone who wants to buy it and they favorited it or they added to cart or they have followed your shop or something. It's only going to make more sense for them and give them what they want. Like they want a cheaper price. Everybody does. Someone wants something for free. Everybody does, right? So anything that we can do to make that easier on them, it's simply just a couple of different, like I said, psychological, subconscious e-commerce selling tactics that we can use that is only going to help our end buyer. So just always keep that in mind. It's not that you're going to be taken seriously. You're not going to be taken seriously. There are millions of people on Etsy every single day. And yes, you are theoretically, my goal for you guys would be to have as many returning buyers as physically possible. That would be awesome. And then in those particular cases, we're going to give them another discount. So a quick example for me is every time I get a sale, within 24 hours, I send out an automatic saved reply in Etsy and I just change the name and then change the product that they bought. It's very, very simple, very quick and easy. And to thank them, I give them a 30% off discount that they can apply to the entire shop whenever. So it's something that it's only going to increase your sales. It's only going to increase the ability to attract more people. And the people that get the deal, which should be, by the way, all of them, if you consistently do sales like I do, the people that are getting the deals are only going to be happier and coming back for more. Let's see. Oh, that's a really good idea. So Woodcrafter in your pocket, which I just found out. Your name is Linda. Hi, today. I just found that out today. So Linda says she actually rotates what is on sale. One day it'll be t-shirts and then the next sale will be for blankets. I love that idea. And I think that is so, so smart. I also personally have done the option of, again, like we discussed a second ago, if it's a more premium in demand item, I do a lower sale or no sale depending on the week. And then if it's something that I'm trying to push a little bit more, it's not getting the traction that I want, I do a higher sale. So that is a really good 2 examples of exactly how we can kind of switch that up on a weekly basis. And another thing I want to say, again, just devil's advocate to this question, is every single time you go into Target, every single time you go into Walmart, you go into Meijer, you go into Kroger, no matter where you live, Publix, I miss Publix so much. Being from the South, I don't have it anymore. Every single time you go into there, it doesn't matter what time of day, doesn't matter what day, you will see sales on things that you either didn't see yesterday or you saw last week and now they're back in some form. And if I'm not mistaken, again, I don't want to speak for you, but like, I don't think you go up to the Publix manager and say, these cookies were 20% off and I bought them yesterday for full price. Like, I demand my money back. You know, we're just not how we're built as humans. At least I hope not. I hope no one on this call is like that. But what I want to say is just thinking about that, e-commerce, thinking about brick and mortar, all of that kind of stuff is going to be the exact same play that we're doing here. And it is very, very, very standard, very accepted, and very understood across the board. Someone just said, does stuffing your description with keywords, does that help or hurt you? We're gonna go into that in a second, a little bit about like what to do in the listing description. So just let's put a pin in that and we'll get back to that in just a moment. Awesome. I'm glad. He said, lovely answer. I'm so glad. If you always have a sale though, you will never make a full margin. Very, very good point, Wendy. But again, respectfully disagree, solely because what we're going to do is, and again, this is all just ideas. It's not something you have to run with, but sometimes you can inflate your pricing a little bit in order to get that back down to where you originally wanted to be. That's what I personally do. So let's say a hoodie that I have a print-on-demand supplier with, it costs me $12, but I'm going to put it for $65, and then I'm going to put a 30% discount on that. I am still going to be at that $20 profit margin that I originally wanted. So that's one way to do that. And then another thing, which we'll talk about in a second, Etsy really, really loves what's it called? Free shipping. They love the free shipping guarantee, and they have actively told us, which again, we'll get to this in just a second. They've actively told us that free shipping guarantee on your shop allows you to like get found in searches. Like they will give people with a free shipping guarantee priority. And in that exact same sentence, Etsy also says, like increase your price on the item to include the shipping cost that you would have to output to give someone free shipping. And then they're going to boost you in search. So just keep that in mind. It's the exact same concept of what we're talking about for the price itself. Okay. All right, back to the little training real fast. So another thing I want to go over really quick as it relates to SEO, not really that this is impacting or hurting your SEO, but it's really only going to be something that is going to be more beneficial simply because, like I mentioned, I'm going to share this tab instead. Obviously, when we're searching through anything, we're seeing the first photo, we're seeing the video, we're seeing the first few words within the title. And by the way, like I just showed, if you hover over any title, you are able to see the remainder of the entire topic. So like whatever the title is, they can simply hover over it and see the entire thing as well, which is awesome. But another thing that we're seeing, obviously price as well. Another thing we're seeing though is the 5-star reviews, the 4.9, what their total amount is, how many they have in total across their entire shop. They are actively seeing those things. So that's why I say that being able to have really good, let me share the next one, sorry. Being able to have really good reviews and being also, again, like we've said in the past, actively present in our shop and responding to reviews is really going to help increase your social proof, increase that trust we talked about a second ago, and again, show that we are actively responding to our customers, not just in times of crisis. So what I've seen a lot of people actually they will only respond to reviews that look bad on them. I want to respond to all of them personally, even if it's just a couple of words, like just something that just thanks them for buying from you and like builds that community with them is going to put you so much farther ahead than your competitors that don't. The last thing I wanted to say here when we're trying to look at, those first 4 to 5 different things before we dive into the listing description, what I want you guys to always think about, whether you're building or editing a listing, like I've said 1,000 times, and I'm going to say 1,000 more. Think like a shopper. If you are currently on Etsy yourself, like what are you looking for? What do you need to receive? What do you need to see in the listing description? What does the photos need to have in order for you to make that choice? Like if you think like your ideal buyer, and if you think like what you go through when you're about to buy something, it's probably safe to assume that the rest of the world might also think that way as well. So when you are thinking about building out your listings, don't think about talking to a computer. Don't think about beating the Etsy algorithm. Think about, what would I need if I were personally buying this, and then check all of those boxes. And I'm not saying with 100% guarantee certainty it'll work, but that is going to get you that much closer to connecting with your ideal buyer, which theoretically should turn into conversions. The last thing I wanted to go through real fast as it relates to the actual how to go through Etsy SEO, except for tags and tags, we're going to do that in a second. But on the listing description, most people don't know this, and I want to make sure that you guys do, because you're a part of my inner circle right now, and I want to give you everything that I possibly can. The first 150 to 160 characters of a list, I think it's like 155 if I'm not mistaken. So I just put the average between the two. The first 155 give or take characters are what's used for metadata purposes through, again, Etsy, like we saw a second ago, but also through Google search. So a quick example that I wanted to show you guys was I typed in cute dog shirt into Google, and this is what it is right here. Check out our cute dog shirt selection for the very best and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this is an Etsy shop that came up in cute dog search. Good Lord. Cute dog shirt on Etsy search. Okay. So you want to make sure that the first 150 or so characters are really talking to the person who will be looking this up on Google or on Etsy. Okay. We also want to aim to add as many relevant, and again, we're going back to that word relevant because that's exactly how Etsy categorizes every time someone makes a search. And if you can query match, which is the second option that Etsy looks at, if you can match exact keywords that person is using, you will be able to be brought up that much faster in searches. So we want to aim to add relevant keywords to those first 155 or so characters. We also want to make sure, and again, this is straight from Etsy. So anything else that you've seen a YouTuber say, I don't want to say they're wrong because I don't know. They probably are making millions of dollars and I'm not. So who am I to judge? But I am saying this is straight from Etsy's mouth. You want to put the essential info at the top. So it's answering all of those potential questions right then and there for that buyer. Again, thinking like a buyer, creating for a buyer is really what we want to be doing here. So the size, inclusions, dimension, etc. Then Etsy's telling you to end on a note in your listing description that helps tell your story. They're also saying they do not want you to copy your title verbatim. I've seen that a lot on YouTube over the past 2 years for some reason as a life hack for you guys. Etsy's telling you not to do that. So I highly recommend not, maybe listen to them, but don't copy your title verbatim. Instead, what they want you to do is write 1 to 2 sentences that incorporate those descriptive keywords that you found that speak in a human way and elicit your brand voice, your values, your mission, who you're trying to help with that product, etc. So that's a little bit about the listing description. So what I like to personally do when we're thinking about, okay, all of this sounds awesome, Leslie, but how do I actually make it happen? Again, we want to think like a buyer with every single step we take. And then I want to think, think ahead of schedule. Think of like some questions, thoughts, concerns, objections that your ideal buyer might have. Let's say price is the objection. For example, let's say shipping times, processing times. Is this going to fit me or not? Think about all of those different things and then fill in those gaps for them in the photos, listing description, the title, the frequently asked questions that you have in your shop policies, etc. I always say, which I'll get to this in a second, but I always say a confused buyer doesn't buy. So anything that we can do to overcome any potential objections, again, if we're thinking like a buyer, it's very easy to presume or think about those potential questions that they might have and be able to just answer them right then and there. So it's something that makes it easier for them to not be confused, and they know this is the exact product that they need. Okay. All right. We got couple more questions real fast before I move on to tags. So let me go ahead and stop sharing that. So the first one is there a way to update all product quantities on Etsy, or is it only able to be done for each product? That is a really good question. I am going to find the answer for you right now, immediately in my own shop. I'm just going to make it really easy. What I would do is I'm going to go to listings. I'm obviously not going to share my screen here, but I am going to go to listings and tell you guys how to do it. If you click on the little, how you select or deselect all of the listings, I want to see if it allows us to. Okay, it doesn't seem to. So what I'm showing you guys real fast, but again, I'm not showing it to you, I'm just telling you. But when you go to listings, what I was looking for to see if I can make this change fast for us, I was hoping that I could click on select or deselect all listings. Again, you're in your shop manager on the listing section. Then I went to editing options, and that is something that allows us to change a bunch of different things in a bunch of different locations. So edit titles, edit tags, edit descriptions, prices, personalization, change production partners, renewal options, shipping profiles, sections, etc. Unfortunately, it does not look like we are able to adjust quantities quite yet. That would be really awesome. I really hope Etsy sees this and they are like, that's a really good idea, to whoever asked that question. Does not look like we have the ability to do so yet. So I would just recommend the things that are premium or, again, take you a lot of time in the made to order sense are the only ones that I would ever recommend placing low quantity on. So you're not having to go in there every single time and adjust it. I personally only have around 30 to 40 listings in my shop, in one of my shops. So it's a little bit easier to see sold out, but if you have 20 pages of listings, I do not want to place that responsibility on you. So just think about the ones that are a little more premium, the ones that you're trying to push that'll make you a higher profit margin, and then also the ones that you have to physically take days to create, okay? Another thing is, how would you deal with a bad review when the customer is non-responsive? Very good question. I have one that I feel is an easy fix, but they won't respond. I respond to all of my awesome reviews, but this one is odd. That actually has happened to me in the past as well, not on Etsy, but on social media, which is another obviously piece of my business. So there are two different things you can do. One is obviously you can dispute it with Etsy and see if there's anything they can do, but keeping in mind that buyers have a lot more protection than sellers do. So just be very mindful of that. That is one option that you can do if it truly is something that you did everything completely right and this buyer is just not feeling it, for example. The other option is I like to kind of reach out to them a couple times. So if you have already sent them a couple of messages on Etsy, whatever the case may be. I mean, also, by the way, if you send them I wouldn't say a refund in full per se, but if you do something that's monetary and they have to take action to get that monetary thing, it usually, unfortunately, gets people to respond very quickly. That could be option 2. Option 3 would be if you've done everything and they're still unresponsive, that's fine, because sometimes bad reviews just happen. And we as business owners are totally okay with that, because we know it is one of two things: either an opportunity for us to improve and help more people in the future. It's also an opportunity to show how freaking dope we are and how good of a business owner we are and how much we care. So the third option would be simply just responding in a very kind and considerate and empathetic way to the review and letting them know, giving a little context, but in, again, the kindest way possible. So that is what I would recommend. If you feel that you've done everything and they're not responsive, we have to do our part to be responsive in a very customer-centric way first. Okay. How long should a description section be? How long is too long? That's a really good question. I actually haven't gotten that one before. So Etsy, from my experience, obviously, go do your own due diligence to read through the seller handbook, but they don't tell you. There is no magic number. There is no, for example, if you're on Instagram and you're trying to fill out a caption, it's 2,000 characters or less. Like, Etsy doesn't really tell you that. Of course, there is a character limit, but really the answer is, did you answer all potential questions and overcome all potential objections that your ideal buyer might have had? Did you speak to a human while also speaking to Google and Etsy SEO? Did you tell them exactly how to do certain things? So a quick example is if you're doing digital products and maybe someone wants to buy that from you and it seems exactly like what they're going to need, but they don't know how to order it. They don't know what's going to happen when they click add to cart. Let's also say you have a print on demand provider. And this has happened to me, by the way, in the past, where I am based in Lansing, Michigan. My print on demand provider is either Miami or I think San Francisco, someone in New York as well. So I've actually gotten that objection with someone being like, I see you're in Lansing and I'm actually in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So it should only take you like a day to get it to me, but shipping says it's going to be 5 to 7 days. Why? So if you can go ahead and get in front of that, there are thousands of people a year who will not ask you questions. They'll just go to your competitors instead and buy something that answered their questions and that was easier for them. So that's what I would say is, if you can just get in front of those things in the beginning, give all of the information about the product that is necessary for the buyer to make a decision, I think that's your answer. So there's no pretty number. There's no too short or too long. My answer is, kind of Reader's Digest version would be, think about what you need as a buyer. Did you give yourself at least that? And if you didn't, add a little more. If you did and you're overwhelmed with how long it is and you would not read that listing description yourself, chop it up, make it a little shorter. Cool. The next one is, hi, I've been wanting to jump back into Etsy. I have a shop that is 2 years old with one sale. Should I open a new store or put a lot of work into this one? So it doesn't really matter about the sales volume in this case. Usually that would be my answer, is if you already have a lot of sales, don't start from scratch, because we're able to play the game, a little bit easier since we already have that social proof. Since you already have, or you only, I don't want to say only, but you only have one sale right now, it's a little bit easier to start from scratch. However, since you only have one sale, it's also really easy to just play the game on this particular shop. So my answer to this would be, if you are going to be talking to the same type of buyer and creating products for the same type of buyer, I don't believe there is a reason to start over. However, if you are talking to someone totally different, I would recommend starting over. So let's say this particular product was in the cottage core niche, book lover niche, etc. And now you're moving into the coffee niche, espresso cups, tumblers, etc. That doesn't make any sense. Make a new shop. However, if you're talking to the same person, making the same type of products, and you can just do that in your current shop by just editing some SEO within that, in those individual products, and then creating new products from there, that's my recommendation, is to stay where you're at. Cool. All right, let's get back into this guy real fast. I want to make sure we're able to get through all of this today as well, but keep giving me those questions. I am loving them. You guys are so freaking smart. And I just really, really love hanging out with you guys every week and being able to hopefully provide as much value as possible. So getting into tags, these are some things that, again, like actively Etsy is telling us to do and not do. Number one is you want to use all 13 available spaces. Literally not using them is only going to hurt you. It's or not going to hurt you necessarily, but it's only not going to help you. So take that as you will. The next thing they do not want you to do is single word keywords all the time, but instead use multi-word phrases. So a quick example, instead of tote, we're saying canvas tote bag, handle tote bag. Instead of ring, we're saying sterling silver diamond ring, something like that. I'm literally just making this up as I go, but something of that nature. Again, we always want to think like your individual shopper and use terms that they might not be they might be using, even if they're lower in search based on regional differences. What this means is, let's say you have buyers in Australia and there's a very particular word that is highly known in Australia. Etsy is actively telling us to potentially use that in certain places, tags, listing description, etc., because it's actively talking again to your ideal end buyer. Even if it's lower in search, they might be looking up that word. Okay. Again, they want you to use as many long tail keywords as possible. They also don't want you to repeat categories nor attributes that you've already used in your tags. The reason why is it's just I don't want to say wasting space, but it's kind of wasting space because you only have 13 spaces of 20 characters each. You only have 140 characters in your title. So if we do something in the attributes and then we do something in the categories, and then we put that somewhere else, we're just losing out on really valuable real estate that we could use to put other things that are going to help us get found in search that much more. So they're actively telling you, do not worry about replicating. This has been a huge thing in the Facebook group, and I really wanted to bring it up today because a lot of people have been asking about it. When you're doing, sorry, there's a fuzzy in front of my face. When you're doing the keyword research tool in EverBee, you're going to see, no matter what search you do, because trust me, I've done hundreds of them, you're going to see a bunch of different things that are misspelled, a bunch of different things that have spaces where they shouldn't be. Etsy is actively telling us, do not misspell words to make those happen. I will say there are a couple sellers that I know that are doing really well and making a lot of money by going against this. So again, all I'm giving you guys is verbatim from Etsy, and you take it as you will. You make your own strategies, but they're actively telling us to please not misspell words. And I wanted to make sure that we went over that today because that has been a very prominent question over and over again in the Facebook group. And this is exactly what Etsy told us to do and not to do. Okay. The other thing is I don't want you to sleep on the materials section. So under tags, you have 13 additional locations for materials as well. So make sure we're putting that. The last thing Etsy says is think about who will be buying the item or who they will be buying the item for. So for example, gift for Papa, or grandparents' anniversary, grandma birthday, etc. So think about who they're buying it for, whether it's for themselves or for someone else. And if there's an occasion attached to that, you can place that within the attributes, okay? This is another thing I wanted to say here very lightly. I know we're kind of pressed for time, so I'll just say this real fast. Processing times could make or break your listing conversion, especially if the shopper is looking for a gift and your processing time takes however long compared to what they wanted. So what you can do here, if you guys are interested and you feel comfortable doing this, especially if you are a handmade seller, you can actually create listings that are shipping upgrades. So let's say express shipping, $15, and that's actually a listing that you created. I would pop that in your featured section because that might be the one thing that takes them over the edge to actually purchase. And if you guys do go that route, you can actually put that in the description as well, because again, their objection might be the processing time is too long for this particular item. But in the listing description on line 4, it's telling me that I can do express shipping. If I just pay a little more, sign me up, they're more than likely going to purchase. Shipping prices, like we talked about a second ago, obviously, they do boost you in the algorithm in search. If you have a US free shipping guarantee, again, you can see here it has priority search placement. Digital products do qualify here as well because we don't have we don't do that. We don't have shipping, so like they're going to not hurt us. It's only going to help us. We are going to be there. And then, like I said earlier, to answer that other person's question, adding your shipping cost into the product itself, then offering a free shipping guarantee is going to push you farther in the algorithm and really help with also the conversions itself, okay? So let's move on really quickly. I know we're pressed for time. If you guys are still hanging out with me, if you're cool with it, I'm going to keep going. I don't want to break this up into 3 parts because I want to give you guys as much as physically possible today. If you do have to hop off at 11, that is totally fine. This replay will be on Facebook and YouTube, but if you guys are cool with hanging out with me a little while longer, let's just keep it going. The next thing is, what is a listing quality score? So this is something that is kind of this arbitrary number that none of us know, and none of us will ever know, by the way. Like, it doesn't matter if there is a $500 million seller on Etsy. It doesn't matter if they're your favorite influencer. It doesn't matter if they're the best YouTuber in the world. None of us know what a listing quality score actually is for our own listings or for anybody else's for that matter. However, what I wanted to show you guys today is exactly what it is and how we can try our absolute best to do exactly what Etsy is asking us to make that listing quality score as good as possible, okay? So obviously, like we said, no one knows what it is. No one gets the exact number, but it's Etsy's metric that measures how popular a listing is with buyers. Something else that's a little controversial that a lot of people talk about in good or bad ways is, do listings that are brand new get a temporary boost? The answer is yes. Very small, but yes, new listings and renewed listings get a temporary boost in the algorithm because Etsy is trying to, and by I say Etsy robots, the algorithm is trying to learn as quickly as possible for that new listing and or that renewed listing about whether buyers are actually interested in that listing in the first place. So the listing quality score is made up of a combination of clicks, favorites, and purchases. And like we've discussed in the past, I believe we spoke about this last week, that if clicks, favorites, and purchases can all happen in one journey experience. So someone finds you, they view it, they click it, they favorite it, they buy it, that is inevitably going to increase your listing quality score if all of those happen at one time. The other thing I wanted to show you guys today, I think this is the end. So if you just bear with me a couple more minutes, this is something that I can almost guarantee. We got 180 people with us right now. I can almost guarantee maybe 3 out of the 180 people that are talking with me today are using this. And I want to see 177 of you guys using this by the end of this call, okay? It is what is called search analytics. This is something that's a little bit newer. I don't know exactly when it came out. I want to say like last year or 2 years ago, but it's something that is so vital to exactly like knowing exactly what you bring to the table, knowing exactly where you are currently stationed in Etsy without having to use any outside platforms. Okay. So someone asked the question earlier of like, how do I know why I got so many views so quickly? This is the answer. Okay. So it's called search analytics right inside of Etsy. And you're going to see it right here. So let me go ahead and hold on. I'm trying to see if I can copy this for you guys. Let's see if this works. I'm going to pop this in the comments for you real fast. Hey, it worked. There you go. So there's the thing for you right there. So all you have to do, I put it in the comments, go to this link and it's going to take you, as long as you're signed into Etsy, it's going to take you to your search analytics that are going to look exactly like this. So you'll be able to do different time parameters. So for this one that I looked up, for example, was give or take 30 days, around 28 days. It'll tell you how many visits came, how well that was comparatively to a different time period, visit results, average order value, etc. But the most important part as it relates to SEO is we're going to be able to see exactly what search query we are populating for and how many listings are populating for that. Okay, so for example, in my particular shop, UGC, which stands for user generated content, I'm getting 94 impressions. I am on the 40th position. 6 visits have come from that particular thing. But if we go down to UGC portfolio, wait, let me see if I can find a better one. UGC course, this is a better one. So you see UGC course instead of UGC is 98 impressions. I am 17 in search results. 4 visits have been brought from that and 4 listings are attributed to that particular search term. If you look over here, your listings were found through these queries. There's also a bunch of different, I couldn't fit it all on one page, but open this up for your own shop and you'll see a very long list of all the different things that you can go through and see exactly what position you are in each of these. Because of this, I was able to make that in-demand product, even though it had low search, like we discussed earlier. So I highly recommend pulling this up for yourself. Again, I popped it in the comments for you because that is going to actively tell you what you're currently doing right and maybe being able to apply that same concept to either future listings or listings that aren't performing as well as we would hoped. That is a tool that not a lot of people are using. And I'm very interested to know, like, do any of y'all have any questions? Like, or excuse me, do any of y'all actually use this? It looks like Kennedy and Me Pet Designs does. So that's awesome. I'm super glad. I'm hoping there's at least 10 people that use search analytics. But go ahead and click on that and see it for your own shop if you haven't already. All right, guys, we are a little bit over time, but as always, I want to make sure that I am able to answer as many questions as possible. So like I said, if you have to hop off, that is totally fine, but I'm going to go ahead and do my due diligence for you guys real fast and answer as many questions as I can between now and 11:10. Okay, so just bear with me a little bit longer, or feel free to come back and watch the replay. We're at 1 hour and 6 minutes right now. So if you need to come back and just pick up right where you left off, that is totally fine. And I hope you have a great day if you are leaving us right now. But let's jump into a couple of different questions. The other one is, let's see, should you keep your shop under one niche or have a general shop? I've answered this question probably dozens of times at this point. It is completely up to you. It does not matter, but I personally like to do a niched down shop because it's so much harder to do all the stuff that we talked about today of being able to talk to your end buyer, assume their individual questions they might have, and be able to make SEO targeted things related to answering those questions if you have a general shop. So just keep that in mind. Again, devil's advocate there. It's completely up to you. I have seen hundreds of general stores make hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I've also seen on the other side, niche stores that are talking to the right person do the exact same thing. So the answer, it's completely up to you. Please tell me about the keywords and tags. That's an interesting question. I don't know what the question is. We have gone over exactly how to utilize tags. We've gone over exactly how to add keywords into your titles. If you want anything further, I highly recommend diving a little bit deeper into our channel. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, we talk a lot about keywords and how to find them utilizing EverBee. So I would first start there. And then by all means, if you're in the Facebook group and you want to dive a little bit deeper with a little bit more elaborate question, go ahead and drop that in, okay? Let's see. So it looks like someone also asked, repeating words and tags. So good question. So as it relates to repeating words, attributes and categories, if you put something in those, don't put them in the title, don't put them in the tags. Whatever you put in the title, don't just copy that verbatim and place that in the listing description. Instead, utilize those descriptive keywords, again, like you're talking to a human. So when someone sees you on Google search, for example, it makes sense. It's a sentence. It makes sense to read it. And then as it relates to the tags themselves, they have actively said Yes, you can use single keywords, but they want you to use as minimal as possible to get the best bang for your buck, and instead utilizing as many multi-word phrases, long tail key phrases as possible. Let's see. Should you use commas or other punctuation in your title? We got this question last week as well, and there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's completely what you want to do. I personally do use commas. However, what I really like to do is if I am going to miss out on valuable real estate to put even more keywords into it, I am going to remove those commas and just write what I need to write. So just keeping in mind, you have exactly 140 characters to play with. And if you do space hyphen space, that's 3 characters every single time you do that. If you do comma space, that's 2 characters every time you have to do that. So just be mindful of that. If you need to remove punctuation because you want to fill those spaces with more high converting keywords, do it. If you want to have punctuation, do it. I personally do. It's completely up to you. For the description for print on demand products, should you put a lot of info about the return policy? If it's broken or wrong, or just keep it super simple. So what I would say is fill out your shop policies. That's where I really want that information to go at absolute minimum. So make sure your shop policies are 100% filled out and very, very descriptive of what you will and will not do. At the end of every single listing, it doesn't matter if it's handmade, print on demand, digital, it doesn't matter. I always put the returns / refunds / exchanges in my own verbiage. So I would recommend, like, don't put that at the top, don't put that in the middle, because that would be something that's kind of like a negative, if you will. And it's like, doesn't really like sit well if someone reads that. It doesn't keep them excited. I always have it, but I always pop it down at the bottom, no matter what product I'm selling. If you use a text slide to remind it's a digital item and nothing will be delivered, sometimes the listing appears with "you are missing a picture. Any help?" Interesting. I've never seen that before. That's very weird. No, I would just say, like, if you can pop a picture in there, maybe try that and see if it works. But I've never personally experienced that nor run into that myself. So I am not entirely sure exactly how to overcome that. That simply might be an Etsy support thing that you would have to do for your particular shop. Let's see, there's one more. I think there's 2 more things. Oh, one more thing, just kidding. How does LQS, which is the listing quality score, how does the listing quality score work for makers of handmade, one-of-a-kind items? It is the exact same concept, like I said a second ago, which I'll go ahead and share my screen again real fast. Here we go. The listing quality score measures how popular a listing is with buyers, no matter what the product is. The LQS is made up of a combination of clicks, favorites, and purchases. So it does not matter what type of product you're selling, doesn't matter what type of seller you are. It's all completely based around that particular listing, how many views it's getting, how many click-throughs took place from the search into the listing, how many favorites happened while they were in that listing, and again, how many conversions took place at the same time. And again, if it's all happening at once, even better, you're going to get boosted a little bit more and you're going to get a higher quality score, which again, none of us have access to. So we don't know what that exact number is, nor can we monitor it and try to go up and down. But these are just things that Etsy has actively told us will help you get a better LQS. So I highly recommend to look at everything you currently have. And if it matches, and if you do all the stuff that we talked about today and last Thursday, you might be able to start getting a higher LQS in general. But I highly recommend, like we said, focusing on views to clicks, clicks to favorites. Favorites is kind of like a half, by the way, because they don't have to favorite it. They could go straight to buying. But nonetheless, that is the 4 parts that the LQS looks at, okay? Okay. Good Lord. That was awesome, guys. Thank you so much for being here today. We still have 160 people hanging out together. I am going to say cheers to everyone on this Thursday. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. I hope I was able to answer all of the questions you had. If you have any other questions, feel free to rewatch this video at any time on YouTube or Facebook. Feel free to go and apply to be a part of the members only Facebook group where we do more stuff like this in a more intimate setting every week. And of course, if you have any additional questions, pop them in the Facebook group, okay? So I think that's all we have time for today. I really hope this was beneficial, and I will talk to you guys next Thursday.